In a crushing twist that stunned millions, Princess Kate Middleton found herself wrapped in a wave of emotions so heavy it shook the whole country today. Known for her calm strength and quiet confidence, Kate has handled pressure before, but this moment hit different. This one cut deep, leaving people across the world holding their breath. As new details slowly surfaced, the reality behind her struggle revealed a story of bravery in the middle of heartbreak. Everyone wanted to know, what happened to Catherine today, and why did it move the nation so fiercely? Behind the tall gates of Kensington Palace, something felt off. Way off. The usual smooth rhythm of royal life suddenly shifted into a cold, tense silence that workers whispered about but didn't dare explain out loud. People closest to the family said the atmosphere turned strange and uneasy, like the walls themselves were guarding some heavy secret. Even the most seasoned palace insiders, the ones who had survived decades of royal storms, started exchanging nervous glances behind closed doors. Staff avoided locking eyes with each other. Hallways that normally buzzed with activity turned into quiet paths of rushed footsteps and low whispers. Meetings vanished from calendars without warning. Security tightened overnight, and the whole palace felt like it was holding its breath. It was almost like the palace pulled a heavy curtain over its heart, hiding something fragile behind it, and whatever was behind that curtain was slowly cracking. The first clear sign came when the Princess of Wales, known for showing up no matter what, began missing events she never skipped. Commonwealth Day, Easter services, important gatherings that had defined her royal life. Suddenly, she wasn't there. Her absence wasn't just surprising, it was downright alarming. With every missed appearance, tension grew thicker, and then came the moment that sent public concern spinning. Prince William showed up alone at the funeral of King Constantine, and cameras captured everything: the tight jaw, the tired eyes, the strained composure. His silence said more than any speech could. Still, the palace stayed frozen. No warm explanations, no reassurance, just the same stiff message repeated again and again. And with every unanswered question, speculation exploded. Reporters who usually respected royal boundaries felt cornered, torn between staying quiet and admitting something didn't feel right. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some people talked about complications from surgery, while others whispered about a much scarier medical situation.
In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous.
Online, thousands turned into amateur investigators, breaking down every tiny clue. The tone of a statement, a missing photo, strange gaps in the royal schedule. Hashtags surged, timelines flooded with theories, and conspiracy videos popped up faster than anyone could track. Curiosity flipped into global anxiety. Yet the palace didn't budge. Their silence was intentional, sharp, and controlled. But it came with a price. For the first time in years, the monarchy wasn't holding the narrative. The public was. Trust started slipping, and people questioned everything. Even royal correspondents, the ones known for staying neutral, began speaking up. "What is the palace hiding?" they asked. "And why now?" Because deep down, the public felt it. This wasn't just about rest or recovery. There was a deeper wound behind those walls, something raw and painful that no protocol or tradition could cover forever. And then, the silence cracked open. It didn't happen on a grand balcony or a royal stage. It happened in a quiet garden, on a simple bench under soft sunlight, when a video suddenly appeared on screens around the world. There she was. Not the polished princess in gowns and jewels, but Kate, the real woman, looking pale yet steady, fragile yet brave. Her voice shook slightly as she spoke, revealing a truth that made millions stop in shock. After weeks of tight-lipped silence, the world finally breathed again. But her journey, her real story, had only started. What pushed Kate to sit in that quiet garden and speak her truth? And what parts of her struggle still remain behind palace walls? The day everything shifted was March 22nd, 2024. The morning everyone will remember. The palace released a short video only a few minutes long, but the emotional weight behind it was enormous. No royal fanfare, no fancy setting, just Catherine, sitting calmly outdoors, sunlight brushing her face. But behind that calm expression lived something fragile, something real. Her voice was steady, but her eyes revealed everything before her words even landed. And then the truth hit like a storm. She revealed that cancer had been quietly growing, hidden and unexpected, discovered only after her earlier surgery for what doctors initially thought was a non-cancerous abdominal issue. The world watched in total shock as Catherine spoke, every word landing with a mix of heartbreak and fearless honesty. This wasn't the polished royal figure everyone knew from perfect outfits and graceful waves. This was Kate, raw and real, trying to keep herself steady while her whole reality shifted underneath her feet. She didn't speak like someone born into royalty or someone preparing to be queen someday. She spoke like a wife who had to look her partner in the eyes and reveal something no one ever wants to say out loud. She spoke like a mother trying to shield her kids from fear, and like a woman facing a battle way bigger than titles or traditions. There was no fancy phrasing, no royal filter, just her, speaking straight from the heart. She explained that she had already started preventative chemotherapy and was focusing on staying strong for her family, for herself, and for the people who had supported her all these years. Her honesty was so unfiltered that it shook everyone who heard it. Within minutes, social media wasn't filled with gossip. It overflowed with grief, love, and respect. Millions cried, some in their living rooms, others in office spaces, replaying the moment over and over because it didn't feel real. Catherine, who many saw as calm and untouchable, suddenly stood there showing her most vulnerable truth. And by doing that, she became something new in the eyes of the world. Not just a princess, but a symbol of human strength. Her message ended with a gentle plea, asking for privacy for her family, especially for her 3 children. The tone wasn't strict. It was soft, protective, motherly. And just like that, the world finally quieted down. Even tabloids that rarely held back suddenly stepped aside. It was one of those rare moments when empathy finally beat out curiosity. Behind the scenes, the reason for the long silence finally made sense. The palace had waited until she was stable enough to face the public on her own terms, not out of control, but out of survival. But the delay created new questions. Questions that spread fast. Why wasn't the truth shared sooner? Who inside the royal circle knew and who didn't? And when the truth came out, it answered one mystery but exposed something even more shocking. Insiders whispered that even Prince William didn't know the full extent of her diagnosis until weeks after her surgery. For a couple seen as solid and united, this revelation suggested a painful emotional distance, not because of broken trust between them, but because of pure shock and the way the palace machine handled everything. As the world processed the truth, the royal image started to crack like glass. The silence had broken, but the real story underneath was just beginning to show itself. What did this truth really set loose inside the palace walls? And how deep does the tension within the royal couple run? A crown under pressure came sharply into focus the moment Catherine revealed her diagnosis. The compassion, the heartbreak, the disbelief, it echoed worldwide. But inside the palace, the emotional fallout was even heavier, cutting through walls built to hide crisis after crisis. Because behind the polished announcement sat a truth almost nobody expected. Prince William, her husband and the future king, had reportedly not been told about her cancer until weeks after her surgery. At first, it sounded unbelievable. How could the person closest to her, the one who stood beside her through every public challenge, have been left unaware of something so life-changing? And yet insiders insisted it was true. The palace's obsession with secrecy and controlling every detail moved too fast and too coldly. In trying to protect the story, they ended up shutting out the person who mattered the most. What started as a medical emergency morphed into something even bigger, a breakdown in trust. Behind the palace gates, whispers grew stronger. Staff spoke of confusion, senior advisors scrambling, messages getting lost, and routines falling apart. The once smooth royal operations suddenly looked shaky. Strategy meetings turned into emergency huddles, and while William tried to process the blow of Kate's illness, another setback hit the monarchy like a shockwave. King Charles had also been diagnosed with cancer, 2 leaders of the family fighting the same terrifying battle at the same time. It was a situation no guidebook could prepare them for. Overnight, duty clashed with fear, advisors rushed to manage the chaos, and the royal world struggled to stay upright while everything around it shook. Inside the palace, tensions exploded behind closed doors. Some advisors argued that honesty was the only way forward, while others clung tight to the old rules of silence. Meetings became electric with unspoken words, fleeting glances, and hidden frustration. William, stuck in the middle, felt the pressure crush him, torn between the expectations of the crown and his love for Kate. Out in public, he smiled, shook hands, and played the part of the calm, steady prince. But inside, exhaustion and quiet despair weighed on him like armor too heavy to carry. Every camera flash felt sharper, every public appearance a test of endurance. Commentators started noticing the shadows under his eyes, the hollow ring in his voice. Newspapers asked the questions nobody dared speak aloud. Why were updates so vague? Why did the palace feel distant, even cold? Where was the humanity in an institution that preached duty and compassion but refused to answer? Instead, the official statements grew shorter, colder, more mechanical, crafted to say everything and reveal nothing. Each day of silence made suspicion grow thicker, and through it all, Catherine quietly vanished from public view. Her once packed calendar dissolved. No appearances, no photos, no sightings. The world guessed she was buried in chemotherapy cycles. Fatigue, pain, and fragile recovery became her new routine. Her life wasn't shaped by ceremony anymore. It was shaped by survival. The palace could shield her from the public eye, but it couldn't shield her from the toll of treatment. Hair thinned, strength wavered. Yet in those unseen months, one thing remained undeniable. The Princess of Wales was fighting for her life. But what really went on inside the palace during Kate's hidden battle? Could this silent struggle change the monarchy forever? As weeks slipped by, the silence around her grew louder than any statement the palace could ever issue. The public craved even a glimpse, a photo, a sign she was okay, but none came. Inside, arguments erupted. One camp said transparency was urgent. Each passing day without news chipped away at public trust. Another fiercely protective faction argued her privacy must come first, no exceptions. The result? A deadlock, a tense standstill where every decision felt risky. Meanwhile, Kate stayed hidden, not by choice, but by necessity. She was fighting for her life, but her spirit refused to dim. Deprived of public appearances, she found private ways to connect. Handwritten letters surfaced in hospitals and cancer wards, signed with her familiar name, carrying strength and hope to others facing the same fight. She walked at home. She poured herself into motherhood, reading bedtime stories, offering comfort, keeping life as normal as possible for her 3 children. No gala, no red carpet, no royal audience. Just Kate, mother, patient woman enduring the toughest season of her life. With his wife invisible, the weight fell squarely on William's shoulders. He became the face, the backbone of the monarchy. Endless ceremonies, diplomatic visits, and public events tested him, yet those closest noticed the toll. He was quieter, thinner, more solemn. Smiles for the cameras hid the crushing reality. Heir to the throne and devoted husband to a woman in pain, every empty space beside him a haunting reminder of Kate. But the palace's playbook didn't change, contain the message, limit the noise. Silence, no matter how well meant, proved dangerous. And as summer faded into autumn, one tiny mistake threatened to shatter the fragile calm they had fought to maintain. In June 2025, the Royal Ascot programme, the symbol of precision, tradition, and royal spectacle, was printed across Britain. Buried in the official carriage lineup was a single name that electrified the kingdom: the Princess of Wales. The world thought it was the confirmation they'd been waiting for. Kate was returning. Headlines exploded with joy. Social media flooded with relief and celebration. For a moment, the nation exhaled. Then, nothing. No photos, no pre-event coverage, no palace hints. Just as excitement peaked, a blunt statement cut through the anticipation like a knife. The Princess of Wales would not attend. The palace claimed it had been an administrative error. The backlash was instant and fierce. How could one of the world's most choreographed institutions make such a mistake? Why wait until the eve of the event to clarify? Had Kate planned to attend and withdrawn, or was she never involved at all? Within hours, the hashtag number sign, "Where is Kate?" surged back to the top of global trends. But this time, the tone had changed. Sympathy had shifted into frustration. The public felt misled, their brief hope now twisting into sharp disappointment. The error, as officials called it, had done far more than disrupt an event. It reopened old wounds the silence had created, sparking outrage around the world. And everyone wondered, could Kate's next move change everything? Stay with us. The fragile light of her return now faced the harsh glare of public scrutiny. After the royal Ascot blunder, the palace's carefully maintained silence began to crack under the weight of suspicion. What once looked like compassion for a recovering princess now smelled of manipulation. The narrative of privacy had soured, twisting into control. Old conspiracies, buried under layers of royal etiquette, surged back to life. Whispered in headlines, dissected online, debated endlessly on morning television, fueling suspicion in every corner. Inside the Royal Communications Office, chaos erupted. Emails flew across departments. Urgent meetings stretched late into the night, and press officers scrambled to bridge the gap between perception and truth. Damage control became a desperate, almost artful dance. Senior aides offered vague reassurances to trusted journalists, soft explanations about administrative oversights and miscommunication, hoping to calm the growing storm. But the issue wasn't just Kate's absence anymore. It was deeper. Once broken, trust can't be fixed with a single statement or press release. The Royal Ascot mishap wasn't a simple scheduling error. It was a rupture, reopening wounds the palace had barely begun to heal. The fragile bond between the monarchy and its people trembled again, threatening to snap completely. And yet, amid the confusion, hope crept back, quietly, humanely, not through ceremony or fanfare, but through a triumph of survival. By September 2024, after months spent hidden and fighting silently, Princess Kate completed chemotherapy. No televised announcement, no balcony wave, no grand orchestrated moment. Just quiet dignity. Proof of survival for those who had prayed from afar. A collective sigh swept the nation, not for the monarchy, but for the woman herself. Then, in January 2025, the words finally arrived that everyone had been waiting for. The Princess of Wales was officially in remission. The news travelled across continents like sunlight breaking a long winter. It was more than a medical milestone. It was emotional vindication for millions who had held on to her story as a symbol of resilience, courage, and human strength. But life behind the gilded palace walls was never going to return to what it had been. Every appearance had to be calculated, precise. This wasn't a full return to royal life. It was a reintroduction, a careful step back into the public eye. Her team balanced medical guidance with royal expectation, designing short, meaningful appearances, no long speeches, no unplanned encounters, just deliberate moments to remind the world that she was still here. Her presence, fragile yet fierce, became its own message of strength. When she stepped alongside Prince William at the Commonwealth Day service in March 2025, the energy in the room was electric. Every eye watched, not in judgment, but in awe, admiration for a woman who had walked through fire and returned with quiet dignity. Then, in June, another glimpse, a short appearance during the Garter Day procession. Only 45 minutes in public, but enough to reignite the nation's spirit. Her movements were measured, her smile soft, yet her composure radiated resilience. She wasn't just back as a princess. She returned as a survivor, a symbol of endurance, cloaked in quiet elegance, showing Britain that even in silence, strength speaks louder than words. With Kate's brief but powerful return, questions lingered. Could the monarchy survive this shift? What would happen next? This wasn't the triumphant royal comeback of old. It was a careful recalibration, a slow, measured return to a world that had once defined her, but now felt forever changed. Behind the polished facades and public engagements, fragility remained. Every single appearance had to be choreographed meticulously, balancing her medical recovery with the relentless pace of royal life. One missed hour of rest could ripple into days of fatigue. A single wave to the crowd might cost weeks of careful healing. The stakes had become intensely personal, profound, and permanent. For Kate, stepping back into the public eye meant confronting a world that had once demanded perfection, while she now defined her own terms of survival and strength. Now, as a woman who had faced her own mortality, every camera shot, every photo, every handshake masked the real cost behind each public moment. Every smile, every brief interaction with the public was layered with effort, strategy, and the weight of lived experience. The crown she had been groomed to wear no longer fit the same way. The The life she had once known, seamless and scripted, had shifted in ways that could never be undone. Every expectation, every glance from the press, every calculated protocol felt heavier now, almost unbearable at times. Months of careful absence, private resilience, and a strategic re-emergence had changed her role within the monarchy forever. Kate Middleton was no longer the constant figure of effortless poise, moving through hospitals, gala halls, and charity events with flawless grace. Her calendar, once overflowing with advocacy campaigns, spontaneous visits, and hands-on projects, was now ruled by one unshakable force: her health. Every appearance was preceded by a single question that once would have seemed impossible. Can she manage it? If the answer was no, there was no forced smile, no rushed replacement, no compromise, no shortcuts. The shift echoed throughout the palace. Surprise visits, long speeches, and unplanned events became rare, replaced by carefully curated appearances. Doctors, personal aides, and senior advisors reviewed every commitment for physical strain, emotional toll, and timing. Projects she had nurtured for years, particularly those closest to her heart, like childhood initiatives, were postponed or handed to others. Her personal touch, once celebrated as a hallmark of her style, now had to be measured in favor of well-being. Passion remained, but health dictated pace, scope, and presence. The rhythm of royal life was no longer hers to control completely. It moved around her needs, reshaping protocol itself. And yet, behind this transformation, something deeper emerged. For the first time, the monarchy had to face human limits. Duty could no longer override personal suffering. Appearance could no longer triumph over health. Tradition, optics, and the rhythm of royal operations were being reshaped by necessity. The palace was learning to bend, adapt, and respect the vulnerability of the person behind the title, and slowly, cautiously, this vulnerability became a form of power. Kate's journey, born of struggle and resilience, quietly rewrote what it meant to serve in a life defined not just by expectation, but by survival. The result was a monarchy tempered by humanity, a system where royal life no longer bulldozed through illness, and personal well-being demanded the same respect as protocol and pageantry. Her return, measured yet monumental, wasn't about spectacle. It was a quiet declaration that even royalty must live, recover, and set their own terms. Could Kate Middleton's careful comeback be reshaping the monarchy forever? And what ripples might that create for her family, her household staff, and the nation as a whole? Keep watching the princess as the monarchy's compass. This wasn't just a pause in royal duties, it was a reckoning. And at the centre stood Kate Middleton herself. For generations, senior royals had navigated illness, grief, and scandal with minimal acknowledgement, relying on ceremony and silence to project unshakable stability. Kate's approach marked a profound change. She redefined what it meant to be a working royal, not through presence alone, but through personal strength and deliberate choice. Behind the scenes, palace officials began reshaping the model of engagement. For the first time, a health-first framework guided decisions, with her medical team carrying equal weight alongside press teams. Her voice, once measured against centuries of tradition, now guided every choice about her public life. Her return would be on her terms. She would step into the spotlight only when ready. It wasn't defiance, it was dignity, a declaration that the monarchy could respect humanity within its ceremonial machine. Predictably, critics murmured that royal duties couldn't revolve around one person's medical needs, yet public perception quickly turned. Admirers recognized her courage, her calculated strength, and her leadership redefined. What they witnessed was leadership redefined, personal yet commanding, fragile yet inspiring, and profoundly transformative in the heart of tradition. A future queen who understood her worth, even in absence. A royal who valued authenticity over optics. A woman brave enough to place healing above duty. But Kate's absence revealed cracks across the institution that had long been hidden. She was more than a princess. She was the bridge connecting the monarchy's history with its future, and without her, those fissures became impossible to ignore. Prince William suddenly found himself carrying dual roles, father and future king. The weight pressed down harder than ever. Once, the couple embodied modern royal partnership. Now, William attended events alone. His charisma, once effortless, dimmed under the strain. Speeches grew shorter, smiles more reserved, presence less commanding. The public, accustomed to seeing their partnership as a symbol of stability, felt the imbalance acutely, noticing the absence that left the royal stage feeling hollow. Palace strategists scrambled. Queen Camilla assumed a more visible role, while Princess Beatrice was nudged into broader duties. Both carried titles and responsibilities, but neither could fill the public's connection to Kate. Her absence wasn't just operational, it was profoundly emotional. She had been the unifying force, blending tradition with modern sensibilities. Without her, the gap widened visibly. The effect on younger generations was striking. Polls from late 2024 into early 2025 revealed a sharp decline in support for the monarchy among 18 to 35-year-olds. Those who had seen Kate as relatable, the mother, the quiet reformer, the advocate, now felt alienated. It wasn't just her elegance or fashion sense they missed, but her humanity, the sense that royalty could feel real, accessible, and alive. The palace maintained its polished exterior, but the absence of the Princess of Wales exposed a truth that could no longer be hidden. A monarchy without its human bridge risked losing touch with the very people it was meant to inspire. Kate's silence, once a shield for recovery, revealed how central she truly was, not just to William, not just to the family, but to the heart of the institution itself. Her quiet strength had always been the compass pointing toward balance, connection, and resilience, and in its absence, the monarchy began to tremble on a fragile foundation. So, what do you think caused Kate Middleton's sudden withdrawal, and how might her return reshape the monarchy's future? Share your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story to keep the conversation going.